everyone. Welcome to Ambeon Insights Season 2. I'm Dilusha Gamage. Companies are designed to create value for their shareholders. But there are some companies who goes beyond that and create sustainable value creation across rural communities of a country. And today we are going to dive into one such company, CIC Holdings PLC, a leading conglomerate with operations across agriculture, industrial solutions, healthcare, and livestock. And to talk about CIC, we have with us the leader who's steering its success. That is none other than Mr. Aroshan Seresinhe, the Group Chief Executive Officer of CIC Holdings PLC. Aroshan, welcome to Ambeon Insights.
Good morning, Dilusha. Thank you for having me on the program.
Aroshan, before talking about the company, let's talk a little bit about yourself. Now, I have seen that you have worked across many industries, many geographies. So, to start off, why don't you take us through a little bit about your career?
Sure. So, I commenced my career in the early 90s. I was with Ernst & Young actually, and then shifted to the venture capital industry. So I was in two leading venture capital firms in the mid-90s, and then moved to another leading conglomerate handling the mainstream finance. We were looking at tea exports at that time, about brand building and all that. And something that happened to me was, in that doing mainstream finance, was that I realized I was not enjoying mainstream finance, although my background was finance, and I was an accountant by profession, but being in mainstream finance was, not my cup of tea. So exactly. So I took a conscious call at that point to change careers and got more into projects. And then in the early 2000s, again, joined a leading conglomerate where we looked at a 100 megawatt thermal fired power plant. And that helped me shape in terms of the project financing aspects, investment management, and few other things. And working with that part made me realize the importance of executing projects on time in terms of project management. And thereafter, I was in a telco company where we looked at corporate planning, risk management, and so on. The other aspect which really opened my horizon was when I moved to a regional oil palm company, where we had plantations in Indonesia, Malaysia, and we looked at investment opportunities in Africa, West Africa as well.
Geography.
Exactly. So that made me realize, like being a frog in a well, sometimes with all due respect, I think we were talking of acres in terms of land extent in Sri Lanka. And when you go to Borneo Island, you're talking of hectares. And just a case in point, from the entrance of one particular plantation, which was 15,000 hectares, it took about 45 minutes to 1 hour just to reach the management complex. And then I realized that the real sense of exactly what this 2.47, acres to an hectare, and traveling. And that brought about, working with different cultures, different people, again, executing projects, looking at mill projects and so on, and the scale. The sheer sense of scale. 7 years in that company, and then again back, working in the leading company in Sri Lanka, where we set up a dairy project, total mixed ration with state-of-the-art milking parlor, with a PE fund, agri-based PE fund, who was our partner, and learned a lot, the science behind the whole dairy industry. And then from there, handled renewable energy projects as well, both mini hydros and solar, before joining CIC in 2021. So as you said, I'm fairly industry agnostic. Even I struggle to put myself into one basket.
But I believe that gives you the perspective of managing a conglomerate like CIC. And in that case, Aroshan, now I think this is about 2 decades of experience that you're talking about. So what really has shaped your leadership philosophy? What was the main points that from your career that given you the essence to manage CIC, a conglomerate like CIC as a CEO?
Okay, interesting. So basically, most of our values, thoughts get shaped from our formative years, from school days to family to everything. So few key aspects which stood out and, which kind of reinforced in my mind. So I was fortunate enough to go to a school where, it was a boys' school, where the
School? You can tell me the school.
yeah, St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia.
Right.
So where in the classes we were all mixed up, in terms of ethnicity, be it Sinhalese, whether you're Tamil, Muslim, Burgher, whatever, we were all together, and we had subjects like English where we all did together and all that. So from a very young age, we realized there was no compartmentalization. Although the country, the world, we have gone through so much of issues, and we were very much part and parcel of during that period as well, from the 80s and all that. But there was, absolutely no compartmentalization, irrespective of ethnicity. We were all together, and that helped me, shape my thoughts. Where, collectively, based on the best in certain things, we would all work together, not based on individualistic sort of compartmentalized aspects, religion and all that. Exactly, working with the team. The second aspect was, again, I was fortunate to play a team sport, and in a team sport, you understand, winning and losing is all part and parcel. It's not like winning. It's cricket, yes. So it's not like winning at any cost, at least in that environment at that point in time. And winning and losing are two sides of the same coin. I remember this poem when I was small, Rudyard Kipling's "If," and in that there's a sentence. It says that if you can treat both success and failure as the same imposter, then you do well, my son. Something to that effect, and that's absolutely right. So that kind of kept everything in a relative sense, that you don't get carried away whether you win or lose, and that also helps you in your career, and especially when you're losing, perseverance comes into play, right? In sports, sometimes you don't mean every time you don't score 50 every time. You score 50 and you get out to the duck in the next match or something like that. So you just tend to put things behind you sort of you develop your skill set. And so in life and in work and all that, you keep developing. You don't look back. You learn from those mistakes or the experiences and all that, and you make those things count in the next one, when you're going, be it on the next job or whatever. So all those things also help in terms of the team sport. And the other aspect is, in sport, you don't always play in the playing 11, let's say. You learn to carry water. You learn to be the 12th man, and you help your teammates and all that. So all those things also kind of shape your thoughts with teams and all that, and getting the best people into the team in a given situation based on meritocracy and all that. And the other aspect is that from, throughout the career, even when I had the opportunity to select people, I would always sort of recruit people who are much more smarter than me, who are academically far more qualified. You can see I'm an average guy, so I'm just trying to build the team with with skill sets academically who are far more qualified than me, and that also helped with the team's execution and all that, because end of the day you're trying to perspective. Exactly, and also just giving them that environment to perform. They have the desired, the necessary skill sets, but just giving them the environment, creating that enabling sort of culture to perform. So those were some of the key aspects. And the other thing, as you sort of venture through your experiences, you realize to have a bit more empathy, as you go on. And that also helped in terms of leadership, dealing with people. You try to, understand from their perspective a bit more, and having that sort of empathetic sort of aspects. And the other thing was learning from each other. If you really look at it, we are all playing a role on a given day. In office, we play a role based on certain aspects. So in a group or organization, you will have diverse personalities in the hierarchy and all. You should have the ability to learn from all of them. I learn from certain janitors as well, and how they do things, how they go about. So you have to be open to that culture. So these are some of the key aspects. It's kind of shaped my thought process.
Okay, wonderful. And Aroshan, in terms of CIC, it operates across many verticals like crop solutions, agri-produce, industrial solutions, healthcare, personal care, and even livestock. So, when you consider these verticals, what do you think would be the strongest growth drivers? Which sectors would have the strongest growth drivers maybe in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. Next 3 to 5 years, if you look at it in terms of the medium sort of space, pharmaceuticals has shown significant growth. That's in the healthcare segment. And we have brought in certain combinations, fixed dose combination. So we are seeing quite a bit of opportunity there, especially in terms of being the first mover in that space. And on Link, I think everyone has heard about exactly. Samahan, the brand, it's a fairly old brand, I will say. So about 30 years old, but very strong, both locally and globally. But that's an area where we can improve further, greater depth in terms of the export side of Samahan. We're looking at certain, markets overseas, US, Japan, and the European region as well. And the other segment is the fertilizer and agricultural inputs
That
business.
comes under crop solutions?
That comes under crop solutions vertical. So it's a broad space. When you say crop solutions, we are strong on the input side. We have agrochemicals, fertilizer, seeds business, and the granular sort of specialized fertilizer. So the key element here is how we have done a focused differentiation, not merely going into straight fertilizer, but looking at blends and the slow release granular fertilizer where we differentiate from competition, where we work closely with the farmers in terms of various productivity enhancement projects and all that, and across the spectrum, even with government institutions to develop essentially agriculture productivity. And that's a key segment. Even if you look at our results, nets in more than 1/3. So broadly, in terms of pharmaceutical, Link, fertilizer business, and the other aspect is the seeds business. So here again, there's quite a bit of research and development which has come in, where we have developed locally manufactured hybrid seeds, and we see potential there, especially on the export front for seeds in the long term, and again capacity improvements in the feed milling side. And in the rice business, we have enhanced our sort of capacity in the rice. When I say rice, it's not the standard rice. The rice which we do is where the glycemic index, say normal rice, GI, low GI rice, which is below 50%. And we see tremendous potential there. Because if you look at the numbers, I think 1 in 4, 1 in 5 has sugar-related, diabetic-related diseases, NCDs. So the low GI rice commands a lot of sort of demand, especially catering to that segment. And there's a lot of potential there. We're working with farmers, outgrowers to develop that area, and also to develop the export footprint for the low GI, the health and the specialty rice variety. So broadly, these are some of the areas in the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
Great. And Aroshan, now, according to the annual reports, it says that the CIC is looking at opportunities in export markets. And what are the specific geographies that you are looking at, and in which segments or the product ranges when it comes to export markets?
Yeah. So exports were broadly focused on Europe, US, India, Russia, and Japan, especially in terms of market penetration on Samahan. And Samahan sort of linked natural related product portfolio. Everyone,
That's a product range, I guess.
that's product range from Swasta Murta to Tripala to SP Balm, whole host of things. But they haven't actually really penetrated the export market, some of the other things. But whereas Samahan also, I think we can go far deeper into these markets. We are already in Japan. We are with Costco in Japan on the wholesale side and few other distributors. But I mean, there are opportunities in terms of various formulations taking place in those markets. So there's far greater depth in the markets which I mentioned, where we can really penetrate through Samahan, and especially on the rice business also. we are sort of touching some of the export markets, if I may say so, but we haven't really gone to the depth of some of those things. We need to do far greater market activities, joint sort of activities with our partners, but it's a mere distribution at the moment, and it's essentially catering to more the ethnic shops in those countries, be it
Not
US,
wholesale
Canada,
shops, but the
not really.
shops.
Australia, we are trying to penetrate more into the wholesale segment and get that retail kind of branding space. Building exports is not easy. The significant money needs to go behind the export sort of initiatives and all that. So there's a whole host of plans and talking to various partners and trying to see how to get more depth in terms of Samahan exports and in the rice exports. Seeds we have started. That's a sort of it's at a nascent stage. We have sent some seeds for trials to India, and we are working with some partners in Bangladesh as well on the hybrid seeds and Nepal. So it's early days on the seed sides, but broadly on those three verticals.
You see more opportunities, but you are still at the early stages
Correct.
when it comes to
Correct.
their food.
And I think that's fairly reflected even in our annual report, because exports as a percentage of total revenue is below 5%. So that's an area where we need to, really.
But something that would grow into.
Absolutely.
Okay. And also, what is the role that CIC is playing when it comes to research and development? I think now you mentioned about the low GI rice and products like that. I believe it needs a lot of research and development, and it comes into play. And so, any new products, and when you get into these new segments, the agricultural products, how important the research and development and how strong you are in terms of research and development?
Now, that's very, very important. And that's one of the areas where we differentiate from being just a me too type of thing with the competition and all that. And since you brought up the agri space, let's spend maybe a minute or so on that. So on the agri space and the crop solutions cluster, if you look at the rice side, we have scientists, senior scientists, and we are recruiting a few others as well to develop the low GI. And this takes time. There are various seasons. Now we have brought out even a sticky rice variety, and the GI percentage varies from between 40 to 50%. I'm sure you know a few of the brands like the red basmati and the purple rice types and all that. So R&D, you have to kind of balance out on. If I take the rice side, in a commercial sense, certain things can be a black hole in research and development. So it's always a balancing act, but we see the importance of research and development. So we ensure that we develop our scientists who are with us, and we try to partner with our principals overseas and try to understand, what's happening in the region, the knowledge transfer, the technical aspects. So there is kind of cross collaboration between our scientists and our principals and their sort of R&D officers as well, especially on the agrochemical front, because we have long-standing partnerships on the agrochemical front, and we are always trying to bring in new blends, new solutions, again moving away from the straight fertilizer in that sense. And if you take Link Natural, I think we have one of the best research and development facilities in South Asia. It's a closely guarded secret. No one really knows until you go there. When you go and see the place, it's in Dompe. It's in Dompe, and there's 50 plus scientists working there. Very strong. Yeah, absolutely. And they look at the strength on the efficacy side. And there are so many publications. They are into scientific journals, and they work very closely with international universities, foreign scientists. So there's a lot of knowledge there in terms of developing new variants, new products. I mean, we all know Samahan, we know Swastamurta, Triple, and few others, but there's a whole host of, a very interesting, strong research and development pipeline, which needs to get commercialized. So as you said, research and development is a strong side. So that's on the agrochemical based on the blends. Then you have the rice side, then you have Link Natural, and then even on the seeds. When you take the hybrid seeds, which scientists have developed, along with the government, the genetics material available, the government scientists as well. I believe in that we need to partner. Sometimes, commercial organizations don't really partner with academia too much. I've seen in other countries where the bond is very strong, for instance. But here, I must say, the teams who have very significant domain knowledge have partnered very well, even with government, and we have developed hybrid, locally manufactured hybrid seeds on corn, brinjal, okra, chili, and capsicum. So, I mean, that's, I think you, as a Sri Lankan, you get great sense of fulfillment because that's a direct import substitution, right? End of the day, most of the seeds tend to come from overseas where you have protocols. But here, you have scientists developing exactly, and you have the potential, at least in the region, based on agroclimatic conditions, where you can broad base it, export it, where you have certain land masses in certain countries. So that's, as I said, in the long run. But we have sent certain trial shipments to look at, overcoming the initial hurdles, because there are regulatory aspects as well. So definitely, R&D is a critical element. Yeah.
And Aroshan, now you talked about the relationships quite a lot. Now, in terms of maintaining or retaining these critical partnerships, to mitigate the dependency on few products or principles, are you really dependent on quite a few, or you have a wide variety of choice, or how do you work on these partnerships?
Yeah. So, I mean, CIC is more than 60 plus, right? Coming from ICI days. So most of our partnerships have been with us long standing to an extent. And I think that is important in any partnership. I think having that mutual trust, the respect, and you share that same sense of values. Our ethos at CIC is actually nurturing life. And we are in critical areas, be it on the agri space, especially on the inputs, agri input side, healthcare, and on the consumer brands business and all that. So most of those partnerships are long standing, and they have seen sort of, we have grown with them, and they have seen our sort of market reach, our ability to scale, and then also our compliance and governance structures. So when you have credible sort of principles, they'll want to continue in their journey, because I think going forward, one of the key aspects are, we take environmental, the sustainability, the compliance, the governance framework. So, and being a listed entity as well, I think we always try to pitch beyond the minimum sort of levels and look at the next sort of level of in my mind, compliance is only going one direction. It's going up. That's all. Be it on pharmaceutical or any other industry. And I think that's the case even in the portfolio. The principals whom we work with, especially on agrochemicals, we have what is known under the WHO sort of standards, which is called class 3 and class 4 agrochemicals, which are the least toxic. If you take global rankings, all that, we deal with class 3, class 4, least toxic sort of agrochemicals. So that's important.
Sustainable
Exactly.
environment.
And that's the same with even active pharma ingredients, the APIs, through our sort of tech partners. And the other element, I think, is the domain knowledge which the team has. I think that's a critical thing. I mean, I've been here now 4+ years, but I think the teams who have been here, the human capital, have been with CIC for a long time, and sometimes I think it has become like the training ground for some others. So that domain knowledge is critical, and I think the principals and the partners also appreciate that fact. So in terms of reaching out to farmers, understanding the ground level far better, and not in a reactionary sense, but being able to proactively understand how things are going to move forward. So yeah.
Okay, and Aroshan, if I ask, what is your medium-term vision for CIC Holdings? Let's say in terms of size, the regional footprint, and even about the market leadership. How would you take on that?
Yeah. So in terms of agri, under 3 agri verticals, we are the market leader in terms of agro chemicals on the seed paddy side, and fertilizer. We command significant market share. And medium term, obviously, we want to maintain that market leadership position and ensure that it doesn't get chipped away, because there is pressure. As you know, I mean, even if you take that space, we had a subsidy regime. I mean, we moved from organic to now it's open to anyone, right? Agrochemicals, it's based on demand and supply. There is some degree of subsidy more on the paddy side, but for a farmer who had to buy urea at the height of the price when it was like 25,000 or 30,000 or whatever. Now it has come down to, let's say, 8,000, but still it's like 5-6 times more than what he was getting during the subsidy time. You're getting 1,005 and now it's 5-6 times more. So you're in that environment. Uh, when you see how are you going to really differentiate and be relevant and impactful. So some of the key elements what we are looking at is even working with state institution on certain productivity sort of enhancement ventures. Like we had this thing called Dallakin Venasak on the tea industry. So we were working with farmers, farmer clusters, and we did some pilot projects. It's nothing like having the base data, ensuring that productivity has gone up. And we worked in Gaul, Matara, Ratnapura districts with certain farmer clusters. And the baseline data indicated that through these protocols and what we adapted, their yields had improved from 26 to 30. Overall, a 26% yield improvement on the tea side. Similarly, we're working something called Vadipura Gedia, the coconut industry, and all that. Yeah, because today
To increase the yield.
to increase the yields, because our average yield per tree is about 45 to 50 nuts. And most of the exporters are having shortages in terms of getting coconuts. Even the 3 billion that comes out for a year, I think when the households use it and all that, I think there's very little in terms of the export potential in that sense. So we are trying to improve the yield. I mean, in India, you have trees which give about 100 to 110 in certain parts of India. I mean, not that you need to go to 100 immediate, but at least if it comes to 70 or 80 is a significant improvement. Yeah. And on the sugarcane side as well, we're trying to do a few productivity sort of enhancement areas. And we are also trying to sort of, as I was saying, to expand the global footprint. So in addition to the productivity enhancement on the agri side, again, broad basing the exports on link product portfolio, rice, and on the seed side. So broadly, if you take as a medium term vision, it's a culmination of improving your export footprint and further enhancing your sort of local footprint.
Right. And Aroshan, now CIC as a group has made some Capex investments across logistics, seed storage, and pharma, industrial machinery. So when it comes to the next year of financial year, what would be your priorities when it comes to Capex investments? Are there going to be large investments, or what are your priorities?
Yeah, Capex, we are very mindful. We look at based on demand generation and based on where the market trends are going to be. So try to be proactive and look at Capex enhancement. But obviously, we are very strong in ensuring that health, safety, operational sort of Capexes are all done before we, come to a kind of a red notice sort of aspect in that sense. But as you rightly said, for 25-26, we are very bullish, if I may say so, or keen to develop on the agri-processing side. So that's an area, agri-processing. So that's an area which we're looking at because, as I said, we are strong on the agricultural input side and working with farmers, but an area where it's more an adjacency to that, and it's a logical extension to look at agricultural processing, and especially trying to broad-base the export footprint to that. I mean, there are ventures like dehydrated fruits, vegetables, where we can easily look into.
Something that you have started, or this is something
No, not
we're
yet.
looking at next?
We're looking at in terms of looking at opportunities in the agri processing sector. The other elements are on the livestock segment, especially in the Parnala area where we have all the breeder farms and all that. We're again expanding the footprint there. It's a highly sort of fragmented market space. So you have the feeds, you have the poultry processing, and then we have vet care. That's in our livestock vertical. So we are consciously looking at expanding the capexes there, and especially the feed milling capacities in that, and the local manufacturing of the pharmaceuticals. I think there's potential there as well. And like I was saying, working with strong partners, we're trying to look at, bringing in
New product.
like the fixed dose combinations and all that. Yeah. So those are broadly 3 or 4 aspects.
And in terms of that kind of expansion, are you looking at any strategic acquisitions or new partnerships? What
So we're always open.
always open for that?
Always open for acquisitions,
For
enhancing, the credible partnerships that we have. Definitely.
That's
Open
part
to
of the
that.
business,
Exactly.
right? And Aroshan, how do you envision CIC Holdings evolving under your leadership? As you said, now you have been here about 4 years, 4 to 5 years so far. And when it comes to the growth and when it comes to the future of CIC Holdings, what do you really envision it to be under your leadership?
Okay, interesting question. So CIC, as I said, it's a legacy business. If you look at it, more than 60 years,
6 decades.
6 decades, exactly. And the key elements in terms of looking at nurturing life and being impactfully sort of engaged in verticals like agri, healthcare, consumer. So there is some degree of R&D, and we are trying to strengthen that area. At the future, I think one of the key things is being able to attract viable talent. When it's a legacy sort of business, sometimes it's not easy to attract talent, and we need to be seen as an employer brand in that sense, where the youngsters need to see
Want to come and work
exactly.
for.
I think that's an important thing. So 2 or 3 key elements in the last few years which we have done is we have tried to strengthen our strategic HR sort of roadmap, and that's an ongoing thing. Be it on the individual development side, leadership, to also enhancing the culture that we have. We have strong set of values, and based on that, a certain culture. But we want to broad base that further. Maintaining an open door policy. There are various policies which are there, from whistleblower to anti-corruption to various things. So we want to enhance on the right things in that sense, because that, I think the youngsters need to see that as an organization we are walking the talk on those things, and that's an important thing to attract talent. And also through I think ESG, we're trying to improve further on the sustainability sort of footprint, because one of the key things when you talk to the youngsters, I think they need to see value. What is the organization really doing for the future, for the environment, for others. I think that's it. It's not about profits.
The new generation is much more concerned
Exactly.
Mm.
And that's a key element, I think. So we need to be able to sort of look at it in a holistic manner, and we should be able to pivot in that sense. Yes, we do have strong domain knowledge, but that's not something we become like a dinosaur, in my view, right? If you just go on saying you have strong domain knowledge, so you need to see where the future is going and what are the key attributes of that, and as an organization be able to pivot in that sense. So first and foremost, I think HR is a crucial thing, and I have learned even through my experience, you can have the best laid plans, you can have the best strategies and everything, but if you don't have people who are capable enough in executing, then everything comes to naught, right? Don't have so that's a sort of a critical element. And the other thing is, like I sort of alluded to earlier, attracting viable foreign companies to partner through our sort of sustainable and a strong compliance and governance framework. So those are some of the key elements.
Great of you. And Aroshan, the last but not least, how would you want to be remembered in the business world as not as the CEO of CIC Holdings, but as a person, as a leader, and corporate leader? How would you want to be remembered, or what you want your legacy to be in the industry?
So still early days, but since you asked the question on legacy, I may kind of spin it in terms of how CIC, how they would want to sort of remember me. I think I would rather be remembered in terms of creating a more stronger, like an enabling culture or an environment for teams to perform, and a leadership style where if I've created that culture in that sense, and all of them have done their tasks in a way, and they have done it, and then one fine they realize, we actually did this.
Part of something.
something bigger. And if they realize that they did it without me coming into that equation, I think I'll be the happiest, because I just want to create that culture and give them that sort of empowerment for them to perform. I think that's an important thing. And the other aspect is, I mean, being a legacy business, it's not about, if I may put it in a kind of accounting finance parlance, it's not about retained profits brought forward. That's someone else's legacy. It's about retained profits that you create during the. I think that's an important philosophy. It's not what was brought forward, but what you can create. So the value creation during this period for all stakeholders, multiple stakeholders, not only shareholders, but employees to all that. If we can really create that value in that sense, in an impactful manner, I think that's important. It's not the retained profits brought forward, but you can really, it's like retained profits earned during that period. And two key elements which are close to me is the human capital development side. So if you get a sense of fulfillment, if you have developed the people to an extent that someone says like, look, your staff is being poached, I would say that means we have done something to an extent where people outside see them as valued resources, whilst they carry their domain knowledge, but actually taking them to the next level and making them also understand, you need to keep your mind open. I think the worst thing is sometimes, having certainty. Sometimes uncertainty helps, because then you're not bogged down by, like a tunnel thing. Okay, you need to do this. See, it's like any strategy. We have done so many things well in the past. So if you keep saying like, oh, we did like this, and this is what we need to do, I don't think we are going to really gain significantly. But if you're open to change and to understand how things are progressing in future, I think that's going to hold us in good stead, especially being open. So if you can create that kind of environment, I think it'll go a long way, along with the value systems. I think that's a crucial thing. Otherwise, it's like a how do I say? It's like a directionless, or without a radar sort of. You're just going. So I think the values are key, and then you can sleep easy at night, right? Your conscience is clear. So I think a value-based culture is a key aspect. So few things. Hopefully, we can.
I think
enhance that
very
further.
Progressive leadership philosophy that you have. Not really focused on your own leadership, but creating your team.
I think that's important.
Team to become wanted and want to work for CIC. Thank you, Aroshan. I really enjoyed the conversation, and thank you for bringing so much of insights about CIC Holdings, and also some insights about how a leader should be. And thank you very much for that. Despite your busy schedule, finding your time with us, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, and thank you once again for having me on. Thanks.
Thank you for watching Ambeon Insights, and we will be back soon with another exciting episode.